Pipe down there, Chief. Locker room, July. Why each AFC team sucks, why each AFC team is good. Let's go inside the locker room.
Hey, locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize, every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2.
All right, it is July, baby. We are 2 weeks away from the start of Texans training camp, and I'm very excited, and I'm very excited to be joined by my boy Cody Stoots. Cody, we're going to do a little exercise. We will waste no time here. The exercise is quite simple. We'll also get into Nick Caserio's weird appearance, and CJ Stroud might not know what he has going for him. He might need a little bit better education than the one that he is currently experiencing, if you will. So before we get to that, though, I asked this question yesterday, and I want to get your take on this, dudes. Who got the better groceries? In the spirit of the HEB commercials, which, by the way, I've heard are being filmed. Who got the better groceries? Was it Will Anderson or CJ Stroud this offseason?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Who got the better groceries?
I'm going to say that it's CJ Stroud. And the reason being is Will got more, but CJ got like the pricey, nice stuff. Like Joe Mixon compared to what CJ is working with. Like
Neil Hunter wasn't cheap.
No. Certainly he wasn't. But, sometimes you watch some cooking shows. I watch a lot more cooking shows than you do. Sometimes you put too many ingredients, and the judges are always like, you needed to edit yourself a little bit. I feel like there's a lot on defense. There was just some fine-tuning over on offense, and it was really nice, expensive stuff in getting Joe Mixon and getting Stefon Diggs. So I'm going to go with C.J. Stroud got the better grocery.
I asked the question yesterday. I was watching cooking shows with my wife because she's all about. She's got supermarket stakeout paused right now. Is Bobby Flay even good on TV? Like, what is going on here? I feel like he's someone that you would like that I would just crap on, and then we would have like a 1 hour argument or whatever over a couple of beers. Bobby Flay is not that fun to watch.
Bobby Flay was excellent when nobody else was on TV. When he was one of the only cooks doing it, he was not quite like Emerald, where like Emerald could just kind of take something and teach you something and also keep the excitement high. Like he wasn't quite that.
What did he used to say? Boom.
Bam.
Bam.
Yeah. And so when there weren't a lot of people doing it, Flay was big time. Flay was elite. And then everybody started doing it. And it's like, oh, okay. Like turns out that he really wasn't that good at it. He's just kind of built the empire of familiarity that has kept him around.
Yeah, I can't really watch him. Tyler Olson says, got to be CJ. The weapons he got were top 10 and arguably still could be. Mixon and Diggs are too good. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I mean, Joe Mixon, I think he was 8th in the league last year in rushing. We'll see how that ends up. I just think when you put Daniil Hunter opposite Will Anderson, I think a lot of problems can occur for sure. Shout out to 713 Deportes. Texans 22. I used to watch Bobby Flay when he started Boy Meets Grill. I just don't like him, man. I just don't like him, brother.
They still have some of them, but I miss just
Guy Fieri's elite. I tried to hate before I got into this crap. And this is, you hold it over my head because I used to make fun of you about you and your mom about fanning over Fieri. But yeah, he's a badass, man.
He's awesome. I still think Guy's Ranch Kitchen is one of the best cooking shows on TV. Gets some to come out.
That sucks.
They cook a bunch of different things. It's great.
Can't win them all. That sucks. That's terrible.
Yeah,
that's like Eddie Murphy's Norbit. That's basically like saying Norbit is Eddie Murphy's best movie. Pretty much is what you just said with that.
The thing
Good Lord,
they don't do enough is just the individual chef in the kitchen cooking. Like they don't do that as much anymore. There's still a handful of the shows sprinkled in, but that was the like Guy. He used to have.
You just like the individual chef.
Yes, just right there in the
Come on,
kitchen
bro.
cooking. Guy used to cook some awesome stuff. He made he made Reuben egg rolls one time. Like, oh man, he used to do some great stuff.
Corey says nobody cooks like CJ. Here's my thing with CJ, and I'll just bring this up. I won't bury the lead. I don't think he understands what an HEB commercial is. I don't think he gets it. Like he's like CJ's like been pushing stuff since NIL. He's got all these big time endorsements. I know him and Will are recording HEB commercials now. I don't think he understands how big of a deal that is, man. We know he's a Cali guy. He was on like some podcast last year. I would love to say which one. I don't remember which one it was. But he basically talked about California women versus Houston women and food and all that type of stuff. And it's basically an in and out locker room. They're in and out like a mofo. Which, by the way, I think we kind of need to open our minds to that too. We're just throwing all kinds of hot takes. Like in and out doesn't suck.
No, it's just not my go-to.
Yeah,
by any means.
But it doesn't suck.
I think you're right about this with CJ, but I would also tell you this. This is going to produce the best understanding from CJ Stroud. Like if he took like the reverence of the HEB commercial like serious from the jump, I think once he finally understands what the HEB commercial means to him, it's going to be typical CJ where he just has like an incredible moment where he gives you something great. Like it's going to be awesome when he realizes how cool it is to be an HEB commercial.
Yeah. And I don't even know, like, is CJ cook or anything? I mean,
well, Dalton Schultz said that he has a private chef that cooks for everybody. I wonder where the chef shops, like probably like Whole Foods or something, right?
Yeah. Whole Foods or
Central Market,
something like that. Yeah. Who knows? But yeah, well, at least he's got the chef. So here is the exercise. The Texans obviously have lofty AFC expectations. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go through each AFC team. We're going to say why they could be better than the Texans, and then we're going to say why they suck. So this is going to be a fun exercise, an exercise that a few years ago we didn't even think we would be able to be having, but here we are. Texans, actually a pretty popular pick right now. I think they're top 5 in Super Bowl future bets just because of the odds. So this is a conversation that we'll have. We'll start in Buffalo. We'll end with the division. Why could Buffalo be better than the Texans this year?
Josh Allen just turns into an even more of a supernova than he already is. They run the football better than previously, and maybe to the best portion of the time that they've had Josh Allen, they run the ball the best that they've gotten him, and that defense takes a step forward because they got a little bit more health over there. They've been ravaged by injuries, it feels like, the past couple of years, but that's how they do it. It's Josh Allen centric with a little bit of help from the rushing attack and the defense. Yeah,
and that would be my we'll get to the comments down there. There's some hot takes going on when you start talking about the fast food. For me, Buffalo, why Buffalo could be good, it's Josh Allen or bust. And quite frankly, it would be maybe like addition by subtraction. Like let's say he starts spreading the ball out. I'm not saying that's going to work, but we're entertaining the possibility. Some teams we won't even entertain the possibility with, but you remember when DeAndre Hopkins left and there was like the sales pitch, well, now Deshaun's going to spread it out. And he actually had a pretty good year. Team wasn't very good, but it's a Josh Allen thing, point blank, period, end of story. Josh Allen takes it to the next level. And this is really kind of around the time where you see a quarterback like a Josh Allen, where he goes from being great to elite. And he's been knocking on that door for a while. So that would be the why with Buffalo.
I don't know that he would ever talk about it from in a public situation, but I would be fascinated to know what Stefon Diggs thought about the performance of the team when they changed offensive coordinators, because they ran the ball incredible down the stretch. And they were one of the hottest teams in football heading into the playoffs, and they had to win all those games to not even just get in the playoffs, make the playoffs. And a full season of that rushing attack like they had last year. I mean, James Cook finished 4th in rushing yards last year. So like they could be a really nasty team.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like maybe Joe Brady just is that dude. Like Joe Brady's kind of, we remember him at LSU. How he was getting NFL offers and then went to Carolina, kind of fell off there, as did everything else, and then he went through there. Corey Barrett says that In-N-Out is elite. There's some people saying Whataburger has fallen off lately. I agree. I mean, look, you and me, Whataburger, I love it. I ate it, I think last night. Yeah, last night. Got hungry here. I was watching Watch What Happens Live, and I know I'm gonna get made fun of for that, but I was watching it on Bravo, and Gordon Ramsay was on there, and he was with like Lisa Vanderpump, and they both own a crap ton of high-end restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked Gordon Ramsay, like, do you ever indulge in any like fast food? And he was like, oh yeah, In-N-Out is awesome. And she was like, oh, I like it too. I feel like they might, like, I know we got some Texas pride that'll blind us a little bit, but I feel like they might have a decent clue about quality food.
Oh, I agree with you. And I like In-N-Out's burgers. I don't like their French fries, but I like their burgers. Like a regular, just good old fashioned In-N-Out burger. I mean, it's about as good as it gets. And the consistency there, I mean, you and I have hammered home the point that Whataburger's consistency has gone out the window the past decade. Basically, the consistency in In-N-Out, you get the exact same product every single time.
That and Chick-fil-A and Cane's are the only 3 fast food places where you're getting the same thing every time, no matter what city you're in or anything like that. It's those 3. Yep. It's In-N-Out, it's Cane's, and it's Chick-fil-A for the most part. Frank Z says Brahms needs to come to Houston. Brahms is solid too. Someone says Culver's burgers are seriously underrated. I've never even have them rated, so
they're always a little bit greasier than I want.
If Josh Allen goes down, they have Mitch Trubisky and quickly become one of the worst teams in football. You say that about anybody, though. Like the Texans, like if you have to go with Case Keenum or Davis Mills, you could say that about anybody for sure.
I mean, there's the only team that you would say isn't just like absolutely screwed if their starting quarterback goes down would maybe be like, Pittsburgh, I guess. Like, I guess Pittsburgh. Like, okay, they go from Russell Wilson to Justin Fields. But basically everybody else is screwed if their starter goes down.
Now, this is the fun time because, haters going to hate. I like to hate a little bit, allegedly. Why Buffalo sucks. Let me start here. You can be the positive first. I'll be why the team sucks because we're going to do this with all the AFC teams. They got rid of all their players. They got rid of Stefon Diggs. McDermott kind of seems like, Diggs was the scapegoat for the locker room. It seems like there's just like an awkward tension with McDermott to where it kind of has the feel sometimes of like one of those seasons that just goes bad. And all of a sudden you look up and week 9, McDermott's fired or something like that. So if you're asking me like why Buffalo sucks, and we already talked about why they could be real good, it's that Sean McDermott appears to be like really just in like a weird spot there, like to where they almost have to win the Super Bowl for him to stay there. It almost feels like. Mm-hmm. And then they got rid of a lot of players. They got rid of Stefon Diggs.
For me, Buffalo may not have one other star on their team besides Josh Allen. Like they just may lack the ability to support Josh Allen's stardom. I mean, the wide receiver room is a bunch of maybe. I like Keon Coleman a lot, but he's a rookie. I mean, Chase Claypool's maybe going to make their team. Like, how bad is he?
Man, you think they're putting Keon Coleman out there a little bit too much, like kind of setting him up. I like his personality and stuff. But the other thing is, like, I don't think it's as funny as a lot of I get kind of uncomfortable because like Adam Schefter's just asking him to rank candy and he's doing it. And he's like giggling like Richard Pryor's on stage doing that stand-up special after he got burned or something like that. Like it almost feels like people are just laughing at Coleman. It almost seems like they're not laughing with him. Like it's funny, but it's not like, good Lord, like, what's up, Richard? Good to see you.
Yeah. They take it a little bit. I mean, he might have been overexposed already, but yeah, they just may not have the ability. They may not have enough good players outside of Josh Allen to get this thing done. I mean, you talked about some of the guys they had to get rid of. Feels like they kind of got rid of the heart of the team outside of Allen too.
Yeah.
If he's the heart, they got rid of the ventricles or whatever around to pump the blood.
Let's put it this way. It could be like, and I think they got to the same point. Yeah, they got to the same point of the playoffs and they lost to the Chiefs in heartbreaking fashion, kind of like 2019 Texans, where you get rid of your best receiver. It kind of feels like the soul of your team is dying. Like the whole vibe with BOB, even after that, is dying. And then next thing you know, you start the season out 0-4, and you still have a really good quarterback. He still has a really good season, but there's just something missing, and there's just kind of a vibe. They kind of have a little bit, because I like to localize. Way more accomplished. So I'm not like questioning that, but like way more accomplished, but like kind of like 2020 Texans-ish type of vibes.
No, yeah. I mean, it could go south in a hurry for them. And that division's it should be tougher than it has been the past couple of years. That's dependent on if Aaron Rodgers is still an NFL quarterback or he's a, drug maven, whatever. They don't have the most difficult start to the season, but they certainly don't have an easy start either. So it could get south in a hurry for Buffalo.
Why Miami could be better than the Texans?
They could just finally get everybody healthy on defense.
God, they got depleted last year. Depleted.
Yeah, their thing would be that defense finally gets healthy and they can utilize all those weapons that they have. That's something that's really scary from that standpoint. And then they're still one of the best offenses in football too. That would be the scary thing about how they could end up better than the Texans is they're just one of the best offenses in all of football. And the defense comes along, with some good luck on the health side of things. Cause they've had,
it was their whole defense.
Yeah. I mean, it was
literally their whole defense.
Phillips, Bradley Chubb, so many guys.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would say the receivers, and they've added. They added a couple of backs, so I think that Miami could be. Why would Miami suck? I would say Tua just doesn't take that next step, and he actually regresses. There was a time where there was kind of, even going back to the Watson situation, there was time where there were Texans fans, and don't lie, because I'm on these streets more than anyone, and I'm reading comments, and we were having the discussion, like, if Deshaun Watson wants to go to Miami and you trade him there, would you want Tua to be part of the package? And I would say that it was a larger percentage of people that were perhaps saying no. Like, no, I would not want Tua. He's kind of righted the ship. They're kind of in an awkward situation where the market says a quarterback's worth this, but they don't think that he's like in that class. So they're kind of in that situation. If Tua takes a step back, which I don't think is the craziest thing, although with those weapons, like a step back, how bad are you going to be? Yeah. That would be why Miami sucks.
Their offensive line is potentially one of the worst ones in football. Their left tackle's really old. The rest of the guys just aren't very good. And that could really derail everything from a Tua injury to not being able to run the football as well as they did last year. And then, of course, we talked about the injuries on defense. If those guys just come back and they're like a level below what they were after some of those injuries, it could be really bad for them really fast.
Why the Jets could be better than the Texans?
I guess if Aaron Rodgers is going to be, play like an MVP or close to his MVP caliber, I could see them being better. That defense has a really solid floor that is higher than so many other defenses in football. But this whole question is centered around Aaron Rodgers, is it not? Because if he plays really well, he should be able to find and distribute to those guys on the Jets.
Do you think he's going to?
No, I don't. There was evidence in his final season in Green Bay that he was on the decline. Now he's coming off of a serious foot injury. The offensive line is still shaky. Everybody's new because he hasn't really played with any of them. Like there's far more signs that
Aaron Rodgers taking trips during a non-voluntary camp. Yeah, that's my thing. I think they got a good roster. Why they suck? I just think it's strange the way that Aaron Rodgers is even being spoken of. Like they traded what they ended up trading, a second rounder for Aaron Rodgers. Like it's not like even if you go back to like the Russell Wilson trade, hindsight's 2020, but at the time he warranted 3 first-round picks or whatever the hell it was, and he was in his prime and it was elite, so it kind of came crumbling down. Aaron Rodgers around that same time, it was like a much lower level trade, whatever the hell it ended up being. He was coming off the bad year. He's in his 40s now. When you get to your 40s, I know we watched Tom Brady and we all of a sudden say, well, this guy can play here. Like it ends pretty quickly. Like you go look at when Peyton Manning won the MVP. He fell off pretty damn quickly. Drew Brees fell off pretty damn quickly, like at the snap of a finger. This guy's been making the rounds. He's got a torn Achilles. He's got a good roster around him, but I find it hard to believe that even if he's playing well, that Aaron Rodgers is playing like elite football. It's hard for me to imagine.
I mean, his final season in Green Bay was like 40% worse than his MVP seasons. Like, and that's still a solid quarterback, and maybe the Jets with solid quarterback play could find themselves in the conversation, but he was 40% worse than MVP Aaron Rodgers his final year in Green Bay, and then he had a torn up leg, and he's coming back from it. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I don't see it either. I like their roster. I just don't really. I'm not big on that. Patty says they're overrated as well. Any thoughts on the Patriots? Like, I mean, do you have anything? I'm not going to do both sides. I'm not going to waste people's time.
I believe there's a chance they're one of the worst teams in football.
Yeah, I think so too. So yeah, Patriots. Okay. I mean, even at their best, I don't think they're going to be better than the Texans. So
I feel like their best is 5-6 wins. Maybe.
All right, here we go. You could say that they're the Texans' daddy. They smacked them around to start the season last year. They smacked them around to end the season last year. Why the Ravens could be better, I think it's obvious. I mean, we saw it last year. They always seem to evolve. They always seem to find guys in the draft that make impacts. I think Zay Flowers is one of those guys that could just have an extremely good year. I actually thought Odell Beckham Jr. was a waste of time last year. They're going to spread the ball. They didn't even have Mark Andrews for a large chunk of the season, and we know they just know how to win. I don't really think there's anything much more that you have to say about it as far as Baltimore.
Yeah, the scary part is the offense could be much better than it was last year, and it was nasty last year. And I know you're a lot lower on the guy than most, but I mean, Derrick Henry is an anomaly for running backs. He just needs to be an anomaly one more year, and Baltimore is absolutely filthy.
Yeah, I am admittedly disrespecting him more than I probably should. So yeah, there's that. Why the Ravens could suck.
By the way, on Derrick Henry, worst interview I've ever done in my entire broadcasting career.
No kidding.
Here's why the Ravens could suck, and this is actually something that they got career years out of role players last year. So Patrick Queen played the best football he has ever played in the National Football League, and then he got a huge contract to move on. Jadeveon Clowney had a career year. Kyle Van Noy had a career year. Like, they got career years from guys who weren't supposed to be amazing, and they may not have the ability to replicate that. Like, I know they brought back Van Noy, but they lose Queen, who paired really well with Roquan Smith to have the best linebacking duo in all of football. People are more aware of what Matabike brings to the table. He's got the big contract. They had career years from role players, and they may not get that again.
Why the Bengals could be better? Why could the Bengals be better than the Texans?
I don't. This one's all about Joe. I mean, this one's all about Burrow.
Always, it's been the case since he got there.
In most cases, they might have finally figured out that offensive line to a good enough level. And I feel like we've been saying that for 5 years with the Bengals. They might have figured out that offensive line. They got a bunch of unhappy dudes in that building, though.
Like, T. Higgins
is unhappy. The defensive lineman Trey Hendrickson is unhappy.
Yeah.
So they might have figured out the offensive line, which gets their offensive profile a lot higher. there's a lot more on the negative side for the Bengals.
Do you believe the hype for Mark Andrews about Bateman having a breakout year, or is it all smoke?
No, I've been one of the biggest Rashad Bateman fans since he got in the league. I liked him at Minnesota. I liked him.
When are you going to quit?
I quit last year.
But what is a breakout year for him would be my question. Like because I mean, you're talking about a guy who's had 515, 285, 367. So I mean, you can make a case that if he has 800 yards and 5 touchdowns, that's a breakout year. You know, it's kind of a subjective thing.
Warrant 80 targets would be a breakout year for him. You know, the Bengals thing is they are teetering on falling apart.
Yeah, they're in that awkward. They're getting into that awkward phase that everybody gets into, even when it goes well, where you're paying a quarterback a lot of money, and quite frankly, like he can't stay healthy. Like, I mean, I know that Joe Burrow's had a couple of magical runs, you know, at second and third year, but I mean, he's missed a large chunk of games, and I think Cincinnati. You're depending on Joe Burrow in some cases. If you're depending on your quarterback, that's a good thing. But in other cases, it's a bad thing.
That offense is as shallow as it has been from a skill position standpoint since Burrow's second year. Guys are unhappy in the locker room, which would fester, boil over if they started out slow. And Burrow's wrist may not be healthy. Like there's still long-term concern about his health. And it could get really nasty, and that's a very tough division too. Like the division, those teams beating up on each other. It's a very tough division.
Why the Steelers could be better? Russell Wilson, you got a little Justin Fields action. Very hard nose. They're always like juvenile, man. They back that ass up right into the playoffs, no matter what. Is Mike Tomlin going to be back? What's going playoffs? Man, this team sucks. Is the win streak going to be over? Playoffs. They just always find a way to scratch and claw their way into the postseason.
Yeah, it could be predicated on two pieces of their offense, with Russell Wilson being able to turn back the clock and George Pickens continuing to head towards wide receiver stardom. If that happens, they're going to be a really tough out. I have a lot of respect for that defense, that offensive line. They've invested in it a bunch in the past 2 years. Hopefully it's a little bit better. I mean, what helped them back last year was their quarterback situation was an atrocity. Kenny Pickett's one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen. And, Russell Wilson, you would hope brings I think Tomlin can keep some of that out of focus Russell Wilson. I think Tomlin can.
Well,
can
he's on his last, like.
Have you ever heard the Russell Wilson theory about why he kind of went sideways for him?
By the way, shout out to Dom in Jersey feeding the baby. Just had the baby about a month ago. Made it here in Houston.
Russell Wilson, right after, I think it was in college or right after college, became very friendly with this like self-help guru, and it kind of helped Russell Wilson kind of focus and align everything in his life. And he wrote the guy's forward in his book, and then randomly, like one day that guy showed up to Russ's house and was like, "Hey, by the way, I have like 2 months to live. I have incurable cancer." And it just like shattered Russ's life, like his best friend and like his self-help guru. And then like, that's kind of been where like Russell Wilson's kind of spiraled out of control and just never dialed it back in.
Okay. Well, geez, that's a hell of a theory there. Steelers, Russell Wilson's been not very good.
Yeah.
Justin Fields, not very good. They're kind of on like that treadmill where you're not in the upper tier. You're just kind of a gnat in the playoffs, despite the previous praise for getting in. Just kind of there. That's why the Steelers could suck.
Yep.
Browns. Why could the Browns be better?
I mean, is there any belief in Deshaun Watson? I mean, this is probably where the conversation goes.
Well, is Chubb coming back?
The way
I thought he died, man, and then like you heard the injury, and it was like, oh, okay. I thought he tore like 15 tendons.
Well, the way the fantasy football community talks about Nick Chubb, they act like he died. So there's certainly not high projections there for him. Look, certainly Deshaun Watson can bring to the table better quarterback play than what they got for a large portion of the year. The scary thing for Cleveland is Joe Flacco might have been the perfect guy to run the ideal Stefanski system. And so now they've got to go back to running Deshaun ball and doing what Deshaun likes and what Deshaun wants. And look, sometimes that's been successful in the NFL. It's been a long time since it's been successful. They got one of the better offensive lines in football. The defense is still scary. They got one of the best defensive players in football. Like, they don't need Deshaun to be a Pro Bowler to be a successful football team. They just need to not screw it up.
Yeah, and I do wonder, does Chubb come back? It's a tough division. Why the Browns suck? The division, I think Deshaun's kind of broken. Do I think he's going to completely suck? I don't know, but I think that the mental, you mentioned that Russell Wilson thing, which, by the way, we got some people that are that twist up and light up and smoke during the late night stream, and you're just talking about guys having uncurable cancer and lives being ruined. Thanks a lot, Buzzkill. But I think Deshaun, like, from a mental standpoint, I think you heard Rusty Harden talk about this, and I've talked about this a lot on the radio. You live on social media. Nobody hated him. Like, he was like the most beloved dude in the world until 2020, like the most beloved dude in the world. And I think Quincy Avery adds a little bit of fuel to that fire too. But you're used to that type of love and that type of endearment. And then all of a sudden it just goes away at like the most extreme level. I don't know mentally, like if that's something you thrive off of, if you can just function the same as you did before that. And that's not knocking him. That's not saying it's fair. That's not saying it's unfair. That's not saying what he did. That's not saying what he didn't do. That's just got to be tough if you admittedly lived on social media, loved that love. It's like, remember when he tore his ACL? It was the day after the Astros won the World Series.
It's parade day.
The Astros on the ESPN like news, they were right here, and Deshaun Watson was right here. He was above them, like on the PTI thing, tearing the ACL. And it was like a funeral, man, the way that NFL players were acting.
Well, it's coming off. This is one of my favorite Deshaun trivia things. He's the last quarterback to ever play the full complement of the Legion of Boom. And he lit their ass up. He lit them up. And then he tore his ACL that week in practice.
Why the Chiefs could be better? Do we need to say anything? Like, let's move on.
They're the Chiefs.
Why the Chiefs could suck. Here it is right here. Travis Kelce is having to actually date Taylor Swift. This is not like a, hey, come watch me play football, and hey, I'm going to take a private jet and see you. He's actually got to date her. So who knows how stressful that is. It's a lot of commitments. It's a lot of time commitments. And we don't know. She seems like she's had a lot of breakups. Chris Jones, kind of getting a little bit older, still one of the best players in the league, but getting a little bit older. Their offense sucked for a large portion of last year as well. Like, I know we talk about it, and they flipped the switch and they were able to overcome. They got the missed field goal against Buffalo, and then they ended up figuring it out against San Francisco, but they struggled on offense. And the other thing about Kansas City, and this could go a number of ways, I think there's times where this might look good. They got some little ass receivers, man. Yeah. Like Hollywood and Xavier Worthy, like they got some little ass receivers, and I don't know how much these guys like cold either. I know X is a California guy, and Hollywood is a Florida guy, I believe, which is kind of weird. But the Hollywood guy is actually from Florida. If you're talking about the Chiefs, like you can talk about cold weather because they're gonna more times than not be playing when it matters most. I don't think those dudes like it, and I think that they do add elements, but they got some small ass receivers, man.
By the way, Hollywood's from Hollywood, Florida.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, they do have small receivers. The tackle situation is not good there. They have probably one of the better interior offensive lines, but the tackle situation is still an issue. And if they get old on the defensive line too fast, they're in trouble.
Yeah, but I mean, they do have that one guy who's pretty good. Chargers. Why the Chargers could be better than the Texans?
Because Harbaugh is one of the best coaches in football. I mean, he was not supposed to be awesome in San Francisco when he first got there, and he showed up, and they were really good right from the jump, and
3 straight NFC titles, 2 different quarterbacks.
Yeah, they were really good right from the jump. They're going to run the football better. They're going to have good offensive line play. Herbert should be healthy. Like that. And
you want me to scare you? You want me to scare you on this?
Yeah.
So just imagine this, because I'm a Harbaugh guy. And I think the Chargers are going to be a threat to the Texans the next few years because all he does is win. What if Justin Herbert takes the same jump with Jim Harbaugh that Alex Smith did?
Well, then he's going to win the MVP. There's a very real chance we see the best version of Justin Herbert this season, despite the fact that they got rid of Keenan Allen, they got rid of Mike Williams, and they're relying on sort of a little bit of if at the wide receiver spot. But I just cannot bet against Jim Harbaugh. They're going to be a really, really solid team, and they're to me with Harbaugh, they're a playoff contender.
Okay. Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. I think that division is going to be closer to what they thought it was going to be a couple years ago, before we knew that Russ was going to fall off. Why the Chargers suck? Receivers, they got issues. Their edge guys are good. Khalil Mack's actually coming off a freaking record career high in sacks. Bosa can't stay healthy.
That defense,
it's hard for me to imagine them being really, really bad. But if we're going to say something, the receivers might be a little bit of a problem.
The chance that those receivers and that defense can't play well enough are high. It's high. Like that defense has been a what if defense for years. And Derwin James, one of the most overrated players in the entire
He can't
NFL.
stay on the field, man.
And you think Mac's doing that again? No, he's not. Bosa can't stay on the field. Denzel Perryman's back there. We know how that story goes.
Come on, man. Why are you hating on Denzel?
I mean, him in 1994 to 1984 Hulk Hogan have a lot in common.
What's that mean?
Broncos
thoughts.
They suck. This team's awful.
Bo Nix might really start in the NFL. I can't believe that.
You hate Bo Nix.
Well, he's terrible. He sucks.
He is. That's one of the biggest reaches for a quarterback that I've ever seen.
Ever. I lost $100, but I had already won because of the Brock Bowers thing. But I lost $100 to McLean.
The offensive line might be terrible. The wide receiver room might be terrible. The running back room might be too crowded to actually get somebody going. The defense might stink. Sean Payton might leave them in the lurch like he did the Saints too.
Why the Raiders could be better?
I don't believe in this team at all. I like some of the pieces, but I don't believe in this team at all. If the Raiders are going to do it, it's because they get a really solid floor on offense from Minshew. Like, he doesn't try to do too much. They're okay, and then that defense just kicks everybody's teeth in every week. But I'm pretty skeptical of them being able to do that.
So you basically just said why the Raiders suck. I would just say if Gardner Minshew is your quarterback, you have a ceiling. Like, you have and I think, like, because we're comparing him to the Texans, obviously, but if he's your quarterback, you can be a drop pass away from getting in the playoffs. You can have a magical run. You can do all this cool stuff, whatever the hell they like to do. But you have a ceiling.
If you smash the Texans and the Raiders together onto like one team and you were like drafting who's the best player, like, the Raiders might have a few of the top players, like Devontae's awesome. Max Crosby's one of the best defensive linemen in football. And Christian Wilkins is really good. And then you would have like maybe 15 Texans that get drafted, and then you draft another Raider. Like, there's just they got a couple of guys, and it's just not very good.
All right, you ready to get to the division?
Yes.
Why the Colts could be better?
They could be an offensive supernova. That they have the potential to be the best offense in football.
The what? Yeah.
They do. They really do. They have one of the best running backs in football. That offensive line could be healthy. They could have a dual threat, nasty quarterback.
Adonai Mitchell could be the steal of the draft.
They've got depth at wide receiver if that's
Edmonds
working
not
out.
bad.
Yeah. Like they have the Potential. I'm not telling you it's the likely outcome or it's even, one of the 5 most likely outcomes, but the potential exists with the coach, the personnel, the setup, the situation for them to be the best offense in football. Like that's how they would be better.
The other thing is, and we haven't done the injury thing, but Shane Steichen might be quarterback proof, man. Like he might be quarterback proof to where you can still compete at a high level no matter what. I know Flacco's the backup, but it's scary. The other thing about it is, what's the biggest knock that you hear about CJ Stroud when people are trying to be skeptical and they're trying to question what CJ Stroud's going to do in year 2? Like, what's the first thing that you hear people say?
Is it the sophomore slump thing that you always hear? Like,
not that kind of.
The league's got tape on him. The league fixed him out.
The league's got film on him. They know what to do. They don't really have it on Anthony Richardson. No. And Anthony Richardson is one of those guys that I think I don't think that he's as good as CJ. And quite frankly, I don't know that he can stay healthy. But he's one of those guys where I think having film on him is more important than anything with a physical freak like that.
Yeah.
Why the Colts could suck.
Now this is a longer list than why they're better. Like Anthony Richardson, I don't believe in him. Like I don't believe in him. And their defense is made up squarely of 2 human beings. Like, their defense is built on DeForest Buckner and Zaire Franklin. Like, and they're not going to be able to cover.
You're not giving Speed any love, man.
No, maybe they'll talk about me on this podcast. They're probably not going to be able to cover people. And I don't believe in their quarterback situation. So, again, I said all those nice things about Anthony Richardson, and I want to back that up with my opinion is he's A, not going to be very good, and B, not going to play the entire season.
Yeah, I'm not a big Anthony Richardson fan. I don't. The ceiling is not as high for me as it is everyone else. So that would be my reasoning. But with that said, I think I have a huge amount of admiration for their coach to where he can be average, and I think they can still be in position to maybe even F around and win the division. Maybe I'm just kind of lost in that sauce. Why the Jags could be better than the Texans?
This would consist of all their maybes turning into guys they can count on. And it's not out of the question, but hey, I can count on Trevor Lawrence every week. I can count on this defense every week. I can count on the wide receiver core that's made up of a bunch of number 2 wide receivers every week. I can count on this offensive line every week. Like, they've got a good coach, and I like Doug Peterson. And if he can sort of push everybody to a little bit better version of themselves, that's where they could find themselves in contention with the Texans. I don't think there's any scenario where they're way better than the Texans, but, sneak past them a little bit. I certainly see how that potentially could happen.
Well, I mean, we got to be honest with ourselves. I know I have a lot of fun with the Jags on this channel, but I mean, they were one loss at the end of the season away from winning the division last year. Yeah. They have, I think, one of the most underrated front sevens in the entire NFL. Their linebackers can run like crazy. They added Eric Armstead to a defensive line that already has Travon Walker, who he's not Aiden Hutchinson, but he did have 10 sacks last year, and he showed a lot of improvement. Josh Allen just got paid, so they got him. Evan Ingram, the craziest stat for me, like just in digging through stuff, is that he was 4th in the league in catches. Like only CD, Tyreek, and
Diggs, right?
No, CD, Tyreek, and one more person had more catches than Evan Ingram last year. Amon-Ra, yes. So that's kind of nuts. And the other thing about Trevor Lawrence, yes, he throws interceptions at the worst possible time. Yes, he's not one of the greatest things ever in the history of the NFL. He's not John Elway. He's not Peyton Manning. He's not, all those things we saw. He was hurt last year. Like I don't like I did actually find myself kind of admiring just how tough that guy is. And you got to think he's going to be a little bit more healthy. So as much as I like to talk crap about the Jags, as much as I like to hate on the Jags, they have a pretty good football team.
their tackles have got to play better than they did last year, or the division could, or the schedule they have in the division could eat them up. And I like Brian Thomas Jr. I don't like him if he's my best wide receiver on my team, which he might be the case for the Jags. But yeah, there's some solid elements of the Jags.
All right, here we go. So Texans 22. I think this is V. He says the Jags cannot and will not be better than the Texans, or I will live stream eat a magazine cover. Okay.
I don't even want to know what kind of magazines you have and why the pages stick together.
Oh goodness, come on, man. Yeah, he'll probably get kicked off YouTube if he shows the covers of the magazines that he's looking at. Why Jags could be better?
Or why they suck?
Or why they could suck?
Because it's the same reason. Like they're a bunch of maybes, and maybe those guys aren't any good. Like every pass catcher they've got, with the exception of Evan Ingram, has been a number 2 basically his entire life. Like,
yeah, and they lost Ridley. I did like their draft though. I thought they did a pretty good job in the draft. Trevor Lawrence. I mean, he gets banged up a lot, and he's not consistent. So there's that. Their defense is hard for me to imagine being bad though. I don't know why. I'm starting to really like how you talk about the Colts offense. It's kind of how I'm starting to talk about the Jags D. I don't even know if Armstead's much of a factor or not.
They got that Nielsen guy that everybody's goo goo gaga over as an up and coming coordinator on the defensive side. So I mean that was a big get for them. The one thing that talking to the people that I know that cover the Jags, the biggest conversation piece going into the offseason was they have to transform the offensive line. Okay. They have to transform the offensive line. All they did was bring in Mitch Morose from Buffalo when he got cut by the Bills. Like, that's it. There was no transforming of the offensive line. Like, the conversation in the offseason was we have to transform the offensive line, and they did nothing except for add a free agent center that got cut.
What is is Jags the biggest like Homer fans, and
they're idiots.
It's crazy, right? Like even with the Urban Meyer time, like there was never they never were down on him. Like it was kind of weird. And I'm not trying to generalize. I'm sure some will, but there was never like a damn, this sucks. Like maybe I'm just listening to myself, but like whenever even O'Brien, like I feel like if O'Brien had coached in Jacksonville, they might have built a statue for him. Like
I wonder, like they're perpetual optimists.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, I guess that's cool. It's just kind of weird. Like when you talk to their media, it's like, yeah, man, like what do y'all have any objectivity? Like what's going on here?
I would also be interested to know, like, what's the pie chart of the other teams that Jacksonville fans root for? Like, do they root for
SEC type stuff?
Probably not a lot of baseball fans there.
College basketball, probably like Florida Gators or something like that.
Yeah.
Tennessee Titans, any thoughts?
They're a little sneakier on defense than you would think.
Oh, you know me. I'm a Jeffrey Simmons fan, man.
But we're probably the 2 biggest Jeffrey Simmons fans that don't live in Nashville.
Yeah, I love him.
They're little. They got a little juice on defense with Simmons. Adding Tavondre Sweat in the draft gives them a really nasty tackle combo. They went and traded for L'Jarius Sneed, which he's not amazing, but he's obviously not bad. Awuzie turned into a nice player when he's healthy after time with the Cowboys and then the Bengals. They need a little luck there over on the defensive side. That defense is a little bit better than you'd think it is, though. Yeah,
and I mean, we'll see what happens with Sweat and Simmons. I think that could be potentially a little bit scary. Did see Jeffrey Simmons said that Derrick Henry was in a purple tutu with the jersey too.
And the other thing, if you're going to talk positively about the Titans and how they could end up like having a good season, is okay. Maybe that wide receiver room turns out to be decent. I don't have a lot of belief in it, but maybe.
Yeah. You want to hear Jeffrey Simmons talking about Derrick Henry?
Yeah, I do.
You didn't see this, did you?
Oh, I didn't see this.
Okay.
I wouldn't say weird, but it's different. Not being able to, you get on social media, you see him in his purple tutu. It's like, man, he gone. But now it's like
purple tutu. Is that what you're referring to, the Ravens uniform?
I can't. It's
purple tutu.
Purple tutu. Yeah. Okay. All right. Sure. Sure. They play each other this year, right? Surely.
I think so.
Oh, they don't.
I know he plays Caleb Williams. He also talked about Caleb Williams' nails.
Oh yeah. the painted Caleb Williams nails.
Yeah, the Texans get so if that Titans defense is good, maybe they'll rough up Caleb a little bit. This was him talking about Caleb Williams.
National Football League season will be the first human being on the other side of the line of scrimmage
painted nails
in a game.
Painted nails.
I can't wait to say that to him.
For Caleb Williams.
Painted nails. Didn't even let Rich get the setup out. Painted nails.
Dude, Jeffrey Simmons, man. Got some of that swag, man. He terrifies me.
I'm excited for him to no longer play in Tennessee whenever that happens, and he gets sort of like a swan song with another team.
Oh, like on the back end, like the Texans or like CJ's on his big contract, and the Texans are having to make like tough decisions, and then all of a sudden Jeffrey Simmons hits the market, and they're like, all right, 2 years. $40 million deal. Jeffrey Simmons is going to the rival Texans.
Wouldn't mind it. Wouldn't mind it.
Nick Caserio.
Oh, wait. The reason they'd fall apart is their offensive line's terrible, by the way.
Well, and they have Will Levis.
Yeah.
Nick Caserio called into Jim Rome today. This is getting kind of weird to me. I didn't know that Nick Caserio was such a psycho with Jim Rome.
Was it the thing that they do every year?
The smack off?
The smack off. I almost called it something else.
Yeah. Well, you tell me, is this a smack or jack from Nick Caserio?
What's happening?
Nick Caserio is back. What's up with you, dude?
Nice to see the clones see your personal reinvention project live on the air with the soccer talk in the opening segment. But appreciate you taking the call. Actually, Silk, I have something in common since we have the summers off. So I guess Silk and I have a deeper relationship than people realize. But in all seriousness, before heading into the basement here, before training camp started, I know the clone's concerned about me doing my job, so I'll try to do my job here next week when we head back to get ready for training camp. But in all seriousness, just want to congratulate you and the crew in the last month or so on X Plus. Just the studio, the various crews you have, the new additions. It's been a lot of fun to watch and listen. Specifically, some of the interviews over the last few weeks have been tremendous. Coach Doran, Coach Drinkowitz, fellow Smack Off invitee. And then really the last couple of days, Cashman, great player, great person. We had the privilege of having Blake on our team here last few seasons. He's going to do great things for the Vikings. And, just D-Mac, I mean, you can't say enough great things about D-Mac. I know you've talked to him before, but the way he is on the air with you.
All right. I don't know. I don't know, man. God, he is obsessed with Jim Rome.
There wasn't any, was there going to be some juice to it? Or did he throw some catchphrases in that we didn't know about?
Oh no.
Okay, sure.
So he's going to do that smack off. Him and Sean are going to go against each other.
I don't know. Is Sean going to be available to do it? He's on vacation, right?
He'll do the smack off, right? Shout out to Sean Pendergast.
Yeah, I guess he's finished, fifth the past couple of times he's been in it. So
yeah, he should. I mean, he makes the way that Sean and I've talked to him about this, giving him a hard time. Shout out to Pendy. Man, he makes Olajuwon in a Raptors jersey look like Olajuwon in a Rockets jersey. The way that he's been doing in the smack off lately.
Fifth is not bad.
I kind of feel like it was a lifetime achievement, brother. I feel like they just didn't want to kick one of the greater smack off guys of all time when he was down. I feel like that was like a little bit of respect.
He took 12 years off and then went 4.7355.
Yeah, generous, very generous on those last few. I think they stopped caring after 3. And then they just were like, okay, yeah, oh, you've been doing this for 20 years. We'll give you 5.
Props to him, man. I mean, Rome's been doing it forever, so.
Yep. Well, appreciate you for hopping on. We got the pause. We got the start of camp coming through, man. Yeah, and I think y'all made me want Canes this time. Y'all gonna get me heavy. Yesterday I wanted some Whataburger, and I think I'm gonna have to go get some Canes now.
Do you even entertain?
Yes, I get coleslaw.
No, that one was going to ask.
Okay.
Do you even entertain or have you ever had Lanes?
Yeah, I love Lanes, man, but Lanes ain't open till 2, brother.
Yeah, Lanes closes early.
Yeah,
that's
another thing. Canes is. I mean, are you on a Canes or Whataburger?
Well,
Depends if I want a burger. It's a dumb question by me.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, you probably ordered the damn chicken sandwich at Canes. I could see you going, let me get the chicken sandwich, please.
No, I
with
got a
double coleslaw. This is your order at Canes.
Wrong.
Chicken sandwich with double coleslaw, no sauce, honey mustard. You want their whack ass honey mustard instead of the cane sauce.
Here's how you know you're just lying and you don't know anything about anything. The coleslaw doesn't come with the sandwich.
No, okay. The fries do. Yeah, you're replacing.
Oh yeah, nobody does that.
And then you put the coleslaw on the sandwich.
I don't
think mustard.
I don't think you like my at my fattest Canes order would disgust you.
What do you mean?
I get a Caniac.
Yeah, I always get the Caniac.
I get a Caniac, no slaw, extra fries, 4 extra toasts, and 8 extra sauces. And then I take the
toasts.
And then I take the toast. You cut the toast in down the middle.
Come on, dude.
Put the sauce in there. You shove one of the tenders in there, and you make little Canes toast sandwiches.
That's asinine. That's the Canes at my fattest. You just order a Caniac and then probably throw like 5. For me, it's probably like Caniac and throw 5 extra tenders in there. And let me get the bread. The bread's good, but man, I don't know. Extra. I'm trying to think about like if this would be dangerous for you. You
if it's slow, I get them to toast both sides of the bread too.
No, but like if Canes were a restaurant and you went in and you like sat in the restaurant.
Oh, they brought a bread basket.
They brought the bread basket.
Oh my God, that'd be.
I don't feel like that's like because I don't feel like that's the same as like the Olive Garden or the cheddar biscuits. Like it's that, man. It's a buttery ass bread. Like you think. So you're going in like that on that bread if they're bringing it out like that.
It comes with a little dipper of cane sauce. Hell yeah!
Oh yeah, you're definitely gonna ask for the side of Canes.
That's the trick at Olive Garden. You get a side of the dressing. You dip the breadsticks in it.
Nah, you get marinara sauce, bro.
They started charging for the marinara though.
It's cool. It's unlimited, and you can get all 3 sauces. You can get the marinara, you can get the Alfredo, and you can get the kind of the mix or whatever, like almost like the vodka sauce type joint.
Have you ever seen people get the naked Canes tenders?
No, I didn't even know those existed.
Yeah, apparently they have like an unbreaded tender at Canes. That's like an off menu thing you can order. They look awful.
I don't know about all that.
They look awful.
Yeah, the Pluckers naked tenders go in. Or naked wings.
You know what I was pleasantly surprised by the other day in the fast food world? The $5 meal deal at McDonald's.
Dude, McDonald's is staying solid. Like they're just basically like while everybody else is going up, down, up, down, up, down, they're just going because you can't screw with the McDouble. You can't screw with the McChicken. I know it used to be $1 and now it's like $1.70. You can't screw with it. The fries are always going to be on point. The worst thing about McDonald's, though, is, man, stingy with the sauce. They act a little too crazy about it. Now you got to just say, hey, charge me or whatever. The other day I went through, they forgot to charge me. This lady was working, and I was like, hey, I need 4 sweet and sours, and I need 4 barbecues. Like, you can charge me. And she's like, like real quick, like throws it to me. And I'm like, man,
Ray Kroc would be embarrassed with the way that they handle the sausage.
No, he would love it. He would love it. Who knows? Because we joke about it, but if you look at how many McDonald's there are, just with how stingy they are with the sauce, like just how stingy they are with the sauce, are just out. They occasionally have to charge someone like 25 cents or whatever a sauce packet. Who knows how much McDonald's makes just off being stingy with sauce? Like, I wonder if you could take like McDonald's sauce and like make them as generous as like Chick-fil-A is, and then see like how much of the hits are, how much they lose.
It has to be millions of dollars because there's no other reason for them to do it. They have to be millions of dollars.
But they're crazy with it. Like, it is insane.
It's easier. I mean, it's
What
easier
about
to get.
Taco Bell? They're too much, brother. I don't need like 2 handfuls of that stuff.
Oh, they don't care. They don't. I think their hope is that you put it on other things that aren't Taco Bell, and you think about them.
Oh, it's like marketing. It's almost like passing out flyers.
Yeah.
Or it's just in your pantry because you're like, maybe, I'll keep this fire sauce in here for, maybe I'll use it, and it's in your pantry for like 3 years. But every time you look at it, you think of Taco Bell.
Yep. Or it's in a junk drawer. You're like, you got like your junk drawer with all your screws and tape and pins. And you're like, oh, there's some Taco Bell sauce. Looking for whatever you're looking for.
All right, man. I'll holler at you.
One last thing.
Yes, sir.
Potato cakes are back at Arby's.
Man, those suck.
What?
Come on. I worked at Arby's. Those suck, dude.
Oh,
those ain't it.
You're crazy.
What do you're not getting curlies?
I'm obviously adding them to my order. What am I talking about? Replacing.
You know what Arby's has that's elite? Cheese sticks.
Oh.
Their cheese sticks are, I think, the best in the game, especially when you mix them with Arby's sauce. They go in. That was my first job, Arby's. Shout out to Arby's, man. And they weren't crazy about it. Arby's is.
The chat's saying the naked tenders at Cane's are good. No way.
Yeah, no thanks.
No way.
I'm going to Cane's right now, and I'm not.
I'm going to go tomorrow and try the naked tenders.
All right. Yeah. Let me know how that is, man.
I'll put it on a review on the back of a video.
All right. Appreciate you.
Anytime.
See ya.
And we not too plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days, opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up. We number one. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the